Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher.
So let's jump right into it.
We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on YouTube? This is your host Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles. I want to welcome you guys back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the comic book market and a lot of my observations that I'm seeing all over the place. We're going to touch on IG, we're going to touch on eBay, Shortbox, Heritage, of course. How could we not talk about that? But before we get into this very important video, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, do yourself a favor. You guys are definitely missing out. Hit that sub button. Once we get to 8,000 subs, you guys know I'm doing a big giveaway, and I will reveal the items I'm going to be giving away quite soon. With that said, I want you guys to help me out and smash that like button for this video. Let's get this one out there to everyone in the comic book community because I do think it's an important video. Now, with that said, let's talk about the comic book market. So I want to start off talking about the IG sales, the live sales to be specific. You guys know I'm all over the IG live sale scene. I'm almost on every freaking live sale there is, looking for deals, looking for good prices, seeing who's giving good deals. And the one thing I'm consistently noticing is that a lot of dealers on IG right now are kind of sticking to their guns. They're not giving huge discounts on things, whereas a couple of months ago, people were trying to undercut the GPA last sale by hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and the dealers are kind of giving out those deals because they really wanted to move books. I've seen a lot more people cut back on what they're willing to do as far as live sales go. So for the most part, that's what I'm seeing. Now, with that said, I have seen some dealers show a little bit of frustration with some of the offers that were thrown out. I've seen some of these guys go on for a couple of hours and really not move too many books. But with that said, I think after a couple of hours have passed, they start to open up a little bit and start to say, hey, you know what? If I don't start decreasing my prices, I'm not going to be able to move books. And unfortunately, I have seen some dealers overprice their books by maybe $100 or $200 over GPA last sale or 90 days. Now, unfortunately, that's going to cause some collectors to throw out some lower numbers when making offers. But I do have two sales that I want to highlight. They were reported to me. The first couple are from Bam Pow Comics. He had listed a House of Secrets number 92 in a CGC 6.0 for $1,600 at the beginning of the show. And a little bit after that, he actually ended up selling that copy for only $1,300. Now, the GPA data on that book in a 6.0, the last sale was actually $1,500 and the 90-day was $1,373. So to me, someone got a pretty good deal for being under that last sale and also under the 90-day average. It's tough when the 90-day average and the last sale are quite far apart. I always say to people, meet in the middle, see what you can do, get the best deal you can possibly have. But I think for $1,300, if you go wait some of these dealers out, you're doing yourself a good job. Bam Pow also had an amazing Spider-Man number 31 in a CGC 8.5, a very high-grade copy of this Silver Age key that he sold for $1,350. Now, the GPA last sale on this book was actually $1,601. The 90-day average, also around that same price, $1,585. I always say to you guys, when they're not massive keys, and this one is a pretty big key in my opinion, but to get them in high grades, I think they're always harder to move, and you will have to give a bigger deal when trying to sell those books. But either way, a couple $100 over that last sale and 90-day average, that's a pretty good deal. Good job by Bam Pow Comics. Next up, I have a couple of reported sales from Brixco Comics. He had a Raw Hulk number 181, the first full appearance of Wolverine, and a 4.5 or 5.0 that he sold for $1,800. The GPA on that one for a 4.5 was $2,040. That was the last sale. The 90-day average for that one was all the way up at $2,329. So to me, $1,800 for a Raw copy. You guys know I'm only collecting Raw for the most part right now. Actually, a pretty good deal. We all know, I tell you guys this all the time, the Hulk 181s right now, if you're going to own for the long term, I'm all over it. But this book I still think is coming down in certain grades. Next up, also from Brickshell Comics, was a Raw Werewolf by Night number 32 and around a 5.0. Now, originally he had this book listed for $650 and made me balk at the price because I was actually interested in this book. Later on in the live sale, he actually ended up selling it for only $450, which to me I thought was a fantastic price for around a 5.0 copy. The last sale, according to GPA, was all the way up at $594. Then 90-day, around the same price, $597. So this is a book we all know has come down a bunch over the past couple of years. But as you guys know, right now for Bronze Age Keys, I'm trying to get the highest grade possible for those books. So the takeaway from the IG live sale scene is right now I think you have to wait out the dealers who are a little bit overpriced when you're on IG live sales. If they're right at GPA or close to it, I think you can pounce. But for my 2 cents, from what I'm seeing, wait it out if you can, if you're really looking for a specific book. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the IG consignment pages, okay? And I specifically want to talk about Ali Collectibles and Elite Comics 11 because right now, those are the 2 hottest consignment pages, at least from what I'm seeing, okay? They have had some massive books that have sold over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to show you a few from Ali Collectibles right here. Big Journey into Mystery number 83, and of course, a big X-Men number 1 to boot. Elite Comics 11, also some massive Amazing Spider-Man keys, as well as another Werewolf by Night number 32. So a lot of the big books are doing very well on the consignment pages, especially because they're listed around GPA, and when collectors see that, they're not afraid of buying books. With that said, a lot of the non-keys and a lot of the fluff that are on these consignment pages, in my opinion, they're still sitting. Not a lot of people jumping at non-keys. Not a lot of modern books are being sold right now on these consignment pages, but a lot of the big boys, yes, people are looking for deals, and they're getting them sold. So shout out to Elite Collectibles 11 and of course Elite Comics 11. Up next, of course, we got to talk about eBay. And right now, I think eBay is probably the worst place to go ahead and buy comic books, at least from what I've seen. I've been checking out all the eBay sales over the past month or so. We have some good finds, but unfortunately, every book that I see that I want to own is well overpriced. Okay, we're talking about Silver Age, Amazing Spider-Man. We're talking about some other Signature Series books right now. I know JSA and CGC are super hot for books that aren't witnessed, and people have really raised their prices on eBay with non-CGC graded signature books. So a lot of people are trying to snatch those books up to send into CGC to get those great JSA labels. But with that said, don't overpay for some of these books. I personally have made a ton of offers over the past couple of weeks on eBay, and I got to tell you, I've been like $100 or $200 off the asking price, and people aren't willing to budge at all on certain books. You guys know I'm not looking to buy small books, but a lot of the keys that I'm looking for, the dealers are just being unreasonable right now. So eBay is kind of tough as I see it. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Shortbox. I know I usually don't cover them here on the channel. I have used their app once to buy a pretty big book, and I absolutely love the process. It went flawlessly. I have no issues with Shortbox or the app. However, I consistently search Shortbox for books that I'm interested in. I usually try to search for books they have marked as good prices, and still a lot of them are over GPA by quite a bit, even the 90-day averages as well. So a lot of people on Shortbox, I don't know why, for some reason, they list their books at ridiculous prices, not even coming close to what the actual market is for those actual books in certain grades. With that said, I have yet to make an offer on Shortbox that has been accepted. I knew a few other collectors who have made offers, and they've actually made out pretty well. So if you're going to use Shortbox, do yourself a favor, make market value offers, right? Go to GPA, go whatever tool you use for pricing, and make sure you're making those offers around that market price, because that's the only way right now you're going to get a deal on Shortbox. Like I said before, I love the app, I love the ease of use, and I actually love the process of paying and getting my book in the mail. But with that said, I know they can't control the prices that collectors list their books for. All right, now we got to talk about Heritage, right? We got to talk about all the sales on Heritage that just occurred last week. And some of them were really good, and unfortunately some of them, especially the big one, were really freaking bad. And we're going to talk a little bit about how I think it affects the comic market going forward. So let's obviously start with the big dog in the room, the Detective Comics number 27. It absolutely got demolished. And as you can see here on the screen, you guys know what it sold for, under $500,000 off that last sale. And I can't understand for the life of me why the person who bought this book decided to list it just a year later and actually expect they were going to make money on this sale. Who knows if there's something going on behind the scenes that we do not know about. That's, to me, at least what I'm thinking here. But the amount of loss that occurred on this book makes me think that something else is going on. Now, I did check GPA. The sale has already been recorded, which tells me, yes, it is a legit sale. So with that said, I don't understand this sale because other books in the same genre actually did well in Heritage, and we're going to talk about them right here, right now. First, we had 3 Batman ones that were in the same auction, and I don't understand why Heritage does this. You give sellers of these books the worst chance at making good profit on their books when they do decide to sell it, okay? Let's talk about the first Batman number 1. It was the CGC 4.0 Blue Label copy, unrestored. It sold for $288,000. Definitely up since the last sale of a 4.0 Blue Label, so that was an excellent sell. Next, we're getting into a Batman number 1 with slight to moderate restoration that actually ended up selling and doing okay for $90,000. To me, I was very happy seeing a restored 7.0 go for that amount. I thought it was a good sale considering there was only slight to moderate restoration. Of course, then we had Batman 1 with light tan to off-white pages that had apparent extensive restoration in a 6.5. I was kind of hoping that this book was going to go for a little higher. Actually ended up selling for $43,200. You guys know yours truly has a 6.0 CBCS with moderate restoration, so I was hoping this one was going to go a little higher, but to each his own. It's not a bad sale considering the amount of restoration that went into this book. So again, also we had 3 Superman 1s in the same auction, which I think really hurt a lot of these books, but the main one actually did very well. We're going to start off talking about that one. It is a CGC 1.5 off-white to white pages that sold for $180,000. Again, up from the last 1.5 sale. This one did very well. We're going to jump over to a restored 6.0 copy that has been married with apparent moderate to extensive restoration that actually sold for $45,600. Again, not a bad price for a moderately to extensive restoration Superman 1 with also something married with that book. So again, not a bad sale. Then we had a Superman number 1 in a 1.0 with some trimmed interior pages that sold for a good price, in my opinion, $60,000. Comparatively speaking, when you look at the cover of this book with tape all the way across the spine and the yellow's not bright enough on that Superman 1 cover, that is the main thing when I'm looking at this book that draws attention to it, is that if you look at the other Superman 1s in this auction, the yellowing is definitely far more darkened to the point where I think it detracted some buyers. But either way, I cannot stand why Heritage has 3 books that are the same book in one auction. They did it twice with a Batman 1 and with Superman 1, 2 of the biggest books out there in the comic book collecting world. So let's talk about how I think this is going to affect the market. With that said, guys, these are some of the biggest books in comics, and only a certain amount of people can go ahead and buy these books. Regarding the Tech 27, I can't really make an excuse for why that book sold for what it did, except maybe the super rich are on vacation in the summer. Most people are not paying attention to comic sales. I don't know. I think it was a bad job by the owner of this book going ahead and putting it up for auction right now. I think in the wintertime, you'll always get better sale prices. But with that said, it's inexcusable by Heritage not to promote the crap out of that book and get the most they can out of that sale. Now, as far as Batman 1 and Superman 1 go, yes, we had 1 Blue Label copy of each in this auction. And I think for the most part, the people looking to buy a Blue Label copy, that's why these books went up in price. They're willing to pay fair market value and a little bit above, and that's exactly what happened. For restored books, it gets a little bit iffy, right? That depends on the amount of restoration that's done to a certain book. The ones with less restoration, they did better. The ones with more, they did worse. But at the end of the day, the people who can afford these books are few and far between, and I think anyone who wants to own a Superman 1 or a Batman 1, they're willing to pay what they can afford. And with that said, again, I'll throw that it's summertime. I'll throw that most people can't go ahead and throw this kind of money around. And I'm also going to throw into the fact, like I said before, that there's 3 copies of each book in an auction. I think that's horrible service by Heritage. And for the most part, that's really why I don't use them. If I'm going to sell a book at an auction, most likely I'm going to use Comic Link. However, I'm not going to do that until I know I'm ready to die. Do I think this is going to drive down prices of all comics? No, I don't. These books are few and far between. I said that before. So I do not think it's going to affect all comics. I think your Silver Age Marvel, for the most part, I think the market has bottomed. You're going to see some fluctuation over the next couple of years. High, low sales, depending on presentation of the book, so on and so forth. I'm seeing a lot of good books being sold. The Primo books, I showed you guys earlier in this video, Elite Collectibles 11 sold some bangers. Journey into Mystery 83, X-Men #1, some really big books at good prices. They're starting to go up a little bit. And then, of course, we had Elite Comics 11 selling some of the other Silver Age Spider-Man and stuff like that. So major keys are going up in value. We're going to have some fluctuation, but I still think that the buyers are in control at this point. Yes, certain books are going to go higher than others. They're more in demand. But do I think these sales are going to hurt the market? No, I think the big books are always going to be big books, and that more that come to market, you're just going to drive the prices down. So again, when I see 6 books that are related to each other, all come in the same auction, I think it's terrible, and that's why the prices are down. Overall, I think the comic book market is pretty healthy. Yes, you're always going to have certain books that kind of fall more than they actually should, whether they're more on the market for sale, whether the census numbers go up, whatever it's going to be. It also could be because of the time of year that books are sold. Don't ever forget that. Regardless, if you're a 20-year holder, like I say, you should be if you're going to buy certain books. I think now is a decent time to be in this thing. Outside of a few books here and there, I'm definitely buying a lot more books than I was about a year ago, and that's good news from the comic book market. One other thing I want to mention to you guys out there, if you're looking to buy a big book and you need a large payment plan, I may be able to help you. So do yourself a favor. The description of this video is my contact email. Reach out and ask me how my payment plan service works. And of course, if you're on IG, you could always DM me there as well. Hope you guys enjoy the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.